Welcome everybody to our inaugural GAC Virtual Media Day. We're so glad we get to do this year. I know it's been something that's been on the minds of everybody over the course of the past couple of years. So happy we get to do this here. For those watch this that aren't able to join us in real time, all interviews will be broken out and posted to our YouTube and Facebook pages later tonight. And he posted any clips and wants to watch the full day to see their teams and coaches. But without any further ado today, we will begin today's show or today's media day with the GAC Commissioner, Will Prewitt. If you have a question, please message myself privately in the chat or use the raise hand option, and we will get to you during his allotted time. And I think that'll work best for everybody. So without that, Floor, I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Prewitt.
Eric, thank you. Joey, thank you for being a part of this. Excited to kick off 2022 GAC football season. It's an exciting time to be involved with GAC football. Last season, we had 4 of the top 10 teams in the brutally tough Super Region 3 of Division II. 3 of our schools won postseason games, including the first Division II postseason victories for Oklahoma Baptist and Southeastern Oklahoma State, while Harding earned the number 2 seed in SR3 and hosted 2 playoff contests, winning the opener against Washburn. We're proud to be one of the most stable conferences in college athletics. The GAC was born in 2011 with 9 charter members and a goal to reach 12 members with 6 members each in Arkansas and Oklahoma. We hit that milepost pretty quickly, and we've remained that 12 university model. Where that's important is our schools are able to get a schedule. There are a lot of people in Division II that struggle to get football games. We have some of our neighbors that travel from Texas to British Columbia to be able to get to 7 or 8 football games. I think that it gives us sort of a common goal and mission in that we are the only conference in Division II that every school is a football playing institution. I think we have great commonality among our 12-member institutions, and I think that really plays out on playing fields, courts. 10 of our 12 members have won conference championships in various sports over the past 2 years, and I think that speaks to the balance across our conference and to how much it's a dogfight every week, no matter what the sport is. As much as college athletics is in flux, not much has changed in the world of Division II football, at least with our playoff structure. We'll still have a 2018 postseason, 7 teams per Super Region. The GAC is a part of Super Region 3. Super Region 3 is a heck of a neighborhood to live in. It's our league. It's the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, the Mid-America Athletic Association, and the Great Lakes Valley Conference. I think right there is at least 3 of the top 5 conferences in Division II football. It's unquestionably the hardest route to a Division II football championship. We have defending national champion Ferris State in our region, as well as national powers that people are familiar with, like Grand Valley State, Northwest Missouri State. Oftentimes those second and third round games in SR3 are way tougher on paper than what a national semifinal or national championship game can be. And I'm proud of the progress that we've made over the past 10 or 11 years in being able to compete and play with those type of schools. One reminder and one new item on the playoffs and rankings front. Remember that cross-bracketing to a limited extent began with last season's playoffs. Teams can be shifted across super regions if it doesn't affect the integrity of the bracket and provides the Division II football committee with a little bit easier travel. We saw that last year. One of the Washington schools got shifted into our region. Nebraska Kearney got shifted into Super Region 4. So that's something when you start looking at playoff pairings could play out. You could see a GAC school conceivably maybe host a Lone Star or Gulf South school or go to one of those one of those schools, if that's easier travel and would save the committee some flights as opposed to maybe going up north somewhere. The one change this year is with rankings. If you're not familiar with Division II football and the rankings, national rankings are nice. I don't want to say a bad word about the AFCA, considering that we have a board member and Coach Todd Knight with us here, but the AFCA Top 25 or the D2Football.com Top 25. Those are great to talk about. They're great for publicity in our sport and for our division, but they really don't mean anything for playoff selection. And the Division II National Football Committee will conduct 3 rankings at the end of the year. What's going to be different this year? We've always had those 3 rankings, and the committee consists of 2 members from each super region. They're assisted by regional advisory committees that there are 2 members from each conference, and they will provide 1 through 10 rankings the last 2 weeks of the season. That's the way it's always been. 3 weeks out, that first published ranking, there won't be a 1 through 10 ranking. It'll just be, these are the 10 schools under consideration and no 1 through 10. So that's a little bit different this year. Still talking about the postseason. GAC schools will have the opportunity to play in bowl contests. The Farmers Bank and Trust Live United Bowl sets aside a spot for a GAC team that's selected by that bowl games committee. That game's set for Saturday, December 3rd in Texarkana. Conference schools are also eligible to be selected for the Heritage Bowl in Corsicana, Texas. There's only 4 bowl games in Division II. We're glad that we have ties that allow our student athletes to pursue those opportunities when it works out well for those institutions to play another game. So just one more possible competitive opportunity. Really quickly, a few rules changes in 2022. Not a crazy busy year for the football rules committee, but blocking below the waist this year, cleaning that up just a little bit more. Can only essentially block below the waist inside the tackle box and from backs that are stationary at the snap. Targeting, Division I's going to something that we've had for years. If you have a targeting foul in the second half of a game, that would carry over a first half suspension. That can be appealed to Steve Shaw, the NCAA coordinator of football officials. We've done that a number of times over the past 5 or 6 years, and we've seen some of those targeting fouls overturned. A reminder again for those folks that aren't familiar with GAC football and Division II football, no replay. So, we don't have an immediate review of first half targetings, but those are reviewed at halftime. And we've had a couple of those since we went to that rule that have been overturned. Defensive holding, 10-yard penalties still, but always includes a first down. There were a few instances that it didn't include a first down until this season. So clean that up to always include a first down. Feigning injury, as an Ole Miss graduate, I can't even imagine where on earth the football rules committee would want to get involved with people feigning injury. Now, instead of, if there's a problem with that, the national supervisor of rules, instead of that going to the athletic director of the quote unquote offending school, they now would inform the conference office, and the conference office would deal with that. Simulating a slide. If you watch the ACC championship game last year, the Pittsburgh Wake Forest play, can't do that anymore. If you fake that slide, it's going to be blown dead. So just a few things on the rules change side. If you're watching this today or via YouTube, you're probably already a fan of GAC or Division II football, and you make it out to a game or two. However, if you're a football fan frustrated by the increasing professionalism of the game at the highest levels, where it feels like so many times that, be it off the field, on the field, everything is about, everything's about everything but the game itself. If you're frustrated by that, come out and give our schools a chance. There's some great football played at GAC schools. We produce NFL players. We have a lot of people on those fields that could be playing Division I at very high levels. It's great football. It's a traditional atmosphere. Come out, you're going to get a band, you're going to get a beautiful college campus. We have incredible rivalries. If you've never been to the Great American Rivalry between Southeastern and East Central, the Battle of the Ravine, Northwestern, Southwestern, if you want to go to a football game where people really don't like each other, that's one. We've got great football, great rivalries, great atmospheres. You get the bands, you get the cheerleaders, you get everything, but it's not going to break the bank. You can bring your family. It's a great family environment, and really would love for, if you've not come out to a game on a Arkansas or Oklahoma fall Saturday at a GAC school, we'd love to have you. Joey, Eric, if there's any questions from the group, I'd be glad to take those in the couple of minutes that we've got left.
So Joey, we'll let you have the first question.
Commissioner, it's been a privilege to get to be a part of GAC football for so long and all of GAC athletics. And as you look, you talked about the beginnings of the conference and moving to the 12 members that the conference has now, and a great symmetry there. The conference is now in its second decade, how do you see the growth moving forward, specifically as we're talking for football today? Because with having 4 teams playing in the postseason already, as you mentioned, how much more can this league do?
Joey, it's a little bit of a loaded question, because it's there's so many things that we can't control on that. I'm going to lapse, I guess, since I'm speaking in front of coaches, they'll follow me all day. I'm going to lapse into coach speak a little bit. The only thing we can do is keep working and get better. And I think the level of football across our league has gotten so much better in the last 11 years. Oftentimes that's measurable like it was last year. But when you play in a region as tough as SR3, last year, the margin between us, if a couple of things break slightly different in games within our league and games outside of our league, we could have had 4 playoff teams. We've had years that I think that I've thought that our league was as strong as it's ever been, and we've only gotten 1 or 2 playoff teams. It's so hard to get into the Division II playoffs, and there's so many good teams in our region that if we measure it solely on how many spots we get in the postseason, that's a little bit beyond what we can control. But I think we just have to work at getting better, and across the board, be it our facilities, be it recruiting, etc. And I truly do think that we are on a glide path that one of our schools will win a national championship in this next decade. Football is a funny sport compared to basketball or baseball, where there's 60 or 70 teams literally, if they get hot, can win the baseball championship. A sport like football, there's you see traditional powers that are up there every single year. I think the gap between those schools and our schools has greatly narrowed, and I think it will continue to narrow. And 11 years ago, maybe you wouldn't speak of some of our folks in the same sentence. And now I think some of those schools we don't want to see a GAC team on our part of the bracket. So sorry for the long-winded answer to go round and round, but I think it's just to keep getting better, Joey.
So, Will, we said we are right up against your allotted time. So if we have maybe one other question from the group, now is the chance to do it. I don't want to be already starting behind when we have our first team up here at 10:20. But if we do have any other final questions, the floor is yours if someone has one.
I was gonna say, Eric, if Joey, if not, take my last minute to step aside from the GAC just a tiny bit, a little bit of a personal plea. As a native of Eastern Kentucky, I'd love to encourage, anyone watching this, if you see this over the next few days, we're doing this right now, on August 3rd, but, if you can keep the folks of Eastern Kentucky in your thoughts and prayers, and if there's any sort of contribution that you can make, it's a tough area that, seeing tough times, but it's unimaginable what's happened to, the place that I grew up and called home. So if you can please keep people of Eastern Kentucky in your thoughts and prayers, certainly would appreciate it. Appreciate everyone being on here today and that will watch on YouTube. It's going to be a great 2022 GAC football season, and I look forward to seeing you at the field somewhere. Thanks.